Datamesh has emerged as a pivotal player in the Australian payments landscape. The company's 100-strong team, leveraging their deep expertise in banking and payments, has developed a cutting-edge technology platform tailored for banks. With tens of thousands of retail banks worldwide contending with nimble fintech disruptors, Datamesh aims to empower banks with integrated payment solutions, helping them deliver higher value services and retain their relevance in an ever-changing industry. Furthermore, Datamesh goes beyond payments, offering data analytics that help merchants optimize their operations and enhance customer service. The founder and CEO of Datamesh is Mark Nagy, and Mark joins me now.
Thank you for having me here today.
Well, Mark, tell me, what is Datamesh, first of all?
So Datamesh is a software company, first and foremost, that participates in the payment industry. Our job is to help mainly large enterprise merchant groups, large banks, large payments processors modernise their technology platforms.
So what prompted the creation?
I've been in the industry for a very long time, as with many of my colleagues, and what we were working out very quickly is most of the banking architecture that exists, not just in Australia but around the world today, is quite dated and is really struggling to keep up with the requirements today of merchants and consumers. And so we thought there was a better way to do it, and hence the reason why we decided to build Datamesh.
How has the landscape of payments in Australia evolved over the past 2 decades?
So from a banking and payments processing architecture, not very much. That's actually the core of the problem. From the merchant and consumer side, massively. I mean, we all know today we use phones. I think 1 in 3 phone payments on a terminal now, where a phone's actually tapped on a terminal if you're shopping in store. And of course online everything's moving to digital. So it's really evolved out at the consumer and merchant end and online, but the banks, who really at the end of the day have got to catch the gold bars at midnight, they're really struggling.
So can you explain how the platform addresses the evolving needs of banks and merchants in this changing environment?
Yep, that's a good question. So we built the platform to be merchant-facing. So we've always had the idea that we want to resolve the problems for the merchants, because we know they're the guys that need to have the better experience for their customers. So by starting at that point and then building it backwards, and the whole idea then is the core of the system, or the heart of it, sits in front of the bank's legacy architecture. So most businesses that somewhat compete with us today are expecting the bank to completely replace what they do. What we think is our secret sauce is that we put our platform in front of the bank's platform, connect to it, and that allows them to do a very quick transition to us. And they can use us partially, or they can use us completely. So we think that's a really unique proposition as well.
What are some of the biggest challenges the traditional banks are now facing?
So it's really different depending on where you are in the world, but if we talk about Australia specifically, the major banks have about 80% market share of the payments industry here. And the problem is trying to retain that. And there's a lot of global players now that are starting to come to the Australian market, and they're really coming with a better mousetrap. And so the reason the banks are in payments is because they want to catch the money overnight in transaction banking accounts. Having that cash on deposit is really the reason they play in payments. And so these large disruptors that are coming in from the Europe and the US are actually coming to not only fix the technical problems, but to actually also take that part of the business away. So it's a real threat for banks at the moment to lose those overnight deposits.
How rapidly are we talking?
It's quick. So statistically, what I've been told by the people we work with closely, mainly out of the United States, is that 15% of the global banks have now exited this business because they just can't afford to be in it.
You mentioned Datamesh integrates the existing banking systems. How does this integration work, firstly?
Yeah, so if you think that the main reason that banks are in this is because they want to catch the money, as I said a moment ago, and if you think that they have had to become technology companies to provide a proposition to allow them to do that, but without being disrespectful, they're kind of struggling to be really good at that. What we do is connect into the front of them then and expose the technology piece that's missing from their stack.
What benefits does it therefore offer both banks and merchant clients?
So a bank typically needs an army of people to run these things, the traditional models. You know, we're talking almost in the thousands in some instances. Our model is cloud-based, so it requires very little manpower to actually run it. That's number one. Number two is because it so seamlessly connects into the front of it, it's a very quick process to bring them on board and get them going. We provide our solution as a white label service, so the merchants and the merchants' customers think it's actually the bank that's done something really super special. And so the cool part about this is it's a very low operating expense, almost zero capex, and they're on board and running the system.
How can traditional banks therefore compete effectively?
Well, so job number one is it goes back to the fundamental proposition of our business. We made a decision that rather to build this technology and compete with the banks, we're going to partner with the incumbent. So, and that forced us to make a decision that we don't want to clip the ticket on the financial transaction like most of the competitors do. In other words, we want to be a software company that's partnered with the bank. And by allowing them to rapidly not only provide a technology solution that their customers are looking for, but actually we believe, and I guess I'm probably going to say this, we believe our solution is far better than what the disruptors have. So it immediately places the banks in a position where they can actually go out to market with a far better thing than the disruptors have got. Now, traditionally, most businesses that have a banking relationship won't want to move because it's just painful and too hard. So if their bank can come back to them and say, hey, look, we can fix all the things you want, then they can answer the problem straight away.
Obviously, we're an online world now. Yep. So much shopping is done online, from clothing to groceries, you name it, everything can be reached online. How do you see the balance between in-store and online payments evolving, and what does Datamesh play in this?
Yeah. So statistically, again, I love stats. So statistically, again, 80% of all transactions in Australia post-COVID are back to face-to-face. Okay, in the US, it's 71% are back face-to-face. So there's a perception that online is growing, and it is, but it's not growing as fast as the recovery of face-to-face. I mean, you would know you love going shopping, and there are some things you just can't buy online. Hard to buy petrol online. Most people don't want to buy clothes online. You can buy groceries online, but a lot of people still love to shop. And so that traditional, and it is a very Western thing, by the way, so in developing markets kind of different because they don't have the infrastructure to start with, and some of these economies are trying to get cash out and move to digital. But we're seeing an enormous regrowth again in face-to-face payments globally. Datamesh offers both. So just to be clear, we're bipartisan. I hate the phrase, but we do have this orchestration layer that allows you to have both parts of it because we think that's important. But we're interestingly seeing growth in both segments. What we actually are seeing is things that were traditionally cash now moving to digital. For example, like rideshare and other things like that.
Mark, how did you know I liked shopping?
It was a very good guess. And I don't want to generalise, otherwise I'm going to get in a world of trouble.
I just thought I'd throw that
I
out
love shopping
there.
too, by the way.
Oh, look, no, you hit the nail on the head. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
In terms of
that
data...
could have gone badly.
You said yourself you are a stats man.
Yep.
Let's look at the data analytics side of things now. How does this data-driven approach help merchants enhance their operations and the customer service?
So the big thing is competing for market share and competing for share of basket. So, Australia's a really competitive economy, and we are the dumping ground for everything in the world. There's a lot of businesses come down here to test and learn. We see that in quick service food, like the fast food chains. We see that in automotive, and we see it in a number of segments, fashion, hotels and so on. So if you're going to be doing something, you're going to be doing it really well. Our customers are using our data analytics package to firstly to know their customers a bit better, what they buy, when they shop, and then what we help them do is to understand what share of the basket they're getting. We all know that you can get the hell spammed out of you with loyalty offers and things that are just completely useless, but there is a lot of really good underlying information that shows that if you're given targeted offers and advertising, or if the business can demonstrate that you are almost like you believe their only client and you get that super experience, that'll often bring you back. And so key for us is we digitally enhance that capability. Because let's face it could be a 16-year-old shop assistant that's working behind the cashier taking the money for a coffee. They may not be the person to remember that day that you like your oat latte, with not too hot and, a pinch of cinnamon on top. But for the system to automatically trigger that, and there's really clever ways of doing it, that's pretty cool. And same goes online. And sorry, if you just indulge me one more minute, 100% of the time when you buy online, you hand over your information. You're going to hand over your name, your address, your phone number, and possibly your email address, apart from what you bought. Only 1% of the time you do that when you're in store. So we think we've cracked that. 100% of the time we're helping the merchant understand who their customer is.
We are on the verge of a new year. It's approaching 2024. Looking ahead, what do you see as the key trends and challenges in the payment industry?
So we're obviously seeing market segments that are feeling a little bit of the pinch with the changing economic times, interest rates going up, people are managing their spend a little bit more carefully. We're seeing a lot of the more high volume, low value businesses starting to see trade lifting. Interestingly, quick service food is enjoying a rise. Fuel is not. A tank of fuel these days can be really expensive. So, and obviously the travel and entertainment side is seeing some changes in restaurants and hospitality. The answer to your question, I think, is 2024. Hopefully, everything I hear is mid-year we'll start to see a recovery. But I think for the first half of the year it's going to be a little slow, high-ticket items especially. Australians love to travel and we were all very keen to get out on the road again after COVID. I think the early part of the new year is going to be tempered with a little bit of a slowdown, but certainly we're seeing segments really enjoy growth.
And lastly, how is Datamesh positioning itself to address the challenges that might be ahead in 2024?
Yeah, so from an organisational perspective, we're making our banking customers and partners and our merchant customers more efficient. We're helping them, as I said earlier, understand who their clients are, and we're helping them reduce their costs and being able to operate their models. There's a huge growth in debit card payments going on at the moment. Millennials, the GFC, the COVID era, and then modern times with the current economic challenges, there's a real move away from credit towards debit. That's a momentary thing, by the way, I think, but at the moment there's a bit of a historical trend that went on from 2008. And so we're helping make those businesses more efficient in terms of their acceptance capability, being able to process debit traffic as debit, which is far cheaper in many respects, and Australia's been doing a really good job on that. From a company perspective, we're growing offshore. We have a really unique proposition at the moment. We've got this wonderful relationship with Deutsche Bank. We're expanding up through Asia with them. We're live in India and other countries now, and we're soon heading into North America on a fairly large project that we've just won. So for us, it's about taking Australian technology to the world. We're having a really good time doing it. It's good fun. It's good proof that we can do it in this country, which is really exciting as well. So that's what we're doing overall, and just getting the brand out there.
Mark, tell me, why is Datamesh so unique?
So we think that our proposition is unique because I spoke to earlier about the business model where we don't actually clip the ticket on the financial transaction. We're a software company. Everyone else in this space is either trying to sell it to you or they want to take this business away from the banks. So that's why we think it's unique. It's a pay-as-you-go system, which means really low capex for the bank to get on board and then really low operating expenditure because it's cloud-based. It doesn't need as many people to run.
So let's delve into that. What is the market opportunity for Datamesh as a business?
So by best estimates, we think there's over 30,000 banks around the world that are facing, and acquirers that are facing the same problem. So they're organisations that would currently today take some form of payment, whether it's through a credit card terminal or online or something of the like. So we think that's the total addressable market. As I said earlier, I think probably 15% of them now we're of understanding they just can't afford to be in the space. So that's where we think our sweet spot is. The way we're going to get there, if you don't mind me adding that piece in, is by partnering with our large-scale distributors like the card schemes, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, those guys, and also some other large organisations like Fiserv and WorldPay and those people as well. So that's how we're going to get there. They're our sales channels, and they will provide that technology to their customers. In the enterprise merchant space, like fast food restaurants, airlines, big hotel chains, automotive groups, pharmaceutical companies and so on, they actually need to have more diversification in their technology and payments experience. You asked earlier about the online presence, for example. A lot of these organisations have a really big B2B online presence and they're really struggling to get their payments piece sorted, or it becomes incredibly expensive, or in fact they've got to spin up a team internally to deliver it. Our technology allows them to be free of all of the constraints that exist today.
And how important is that efficiency?
100%. Look, the biggest thing today, especially with the squeeze on, and I think this is a more long-term thing anyway, I think this is a new world coming, is that organisations like the ones we deal with are saying, look, we just don't want to be tech companies anymore. We've had to be technology companies because that's the only way we can win our business. Or in the case of the merchants themselves, they're actually saying we'd like to be more in control of our technology. We don't want our banking partners to be delivering that to us because that's not going well. And to be fair to the banking partners, they're trying their best, but they're having to buy tech that's been really old and really dated. So we think the convergence of that, if you will, is to be able to provide the solution that actually works for both, but giving each of them their own flavour of it. And it is a one-size-fits-all. We don't build hybrids. So we think we've got it. The bar is so low in the industry we're in that the stuff that we feel we've built as a modular set more than meets the demands of the market.
The founder and CEO of Datamesh is Mark Nagy. Thank you so much for your time. Lovely to chat to you. All the best for 2024.
Thank you very much, and a Merry Christmas to you as well.
I can't believe we're saying Christmas already.
Yeah.